So once the initial ad runs, we'll get into it.
Perfecto.
I'm just doing my final promotions. Fuck, it's dying.
You're right, by the way. You're coughing a bit.
I just inhaled my drink.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
And London is on my lap now.
Perfect.
All right, London, you join us. We're talking about penguins being served because Trump did not like Mr. Popper.
Apparently not. Our
I think that too.
yeah, our local game store owner,
Yeah.
the announcement page on the for the store now is just showing all the different tariffs and how that might affect the price of like Warhammer miniatures coming in.
Well, I heard that Nintendo is delaying the Switch 2 to the US because of this.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm super glad I got my Steam Deck when I did because the prices on those are about to jump.
Yeah. On a bright, I'm hoping, right?
Mm-hmm.
That it's not as bad for me because I'm not in the US.
Sure.
I'm in Canada, so getting some of that stuff should be okay. Like hypothetically, if I wanted to switch to this year, which I was not really planning on it, but damn, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe like our Black Friday or something. I don't think it's gonna as crazy of a price hike compared to you guys.
Yeah, no, for sure not.
I don't think. No.
Yeah.
And honestly, a Switch 2 would be lovely because I do love to Switch.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that thing was underpowered.
Yeah, for sure.
So having an actual next-gen Switch with properly powered sounds incredibly appealing.
Well, what? It's getting Elden Ring on it, and you're also getting Switch 2 is getting a Bloodborne sequel, which everyone has been like dying for.
Nice.
But it's gonna be exclusive to Switch, so like it's gonna be a premier console, and I imagine it's going to be like maybe launch some Game of the Year contenders.
I would also love to just get some favorites for the Switch too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd love to get Super Giant Games just on the Switch too, just to have on travel.
Yeah.
Like Hades 2, Hades, Transistor.
Yeah.
If the Precinct, the police game I want on Steam comes to Switch 2 eventually, I could totally see myself getting a second copy on a Switch.
Yeah. Yeah, I have Transistor on my Steam Deck, and that's good. I bet I've been mostly playing Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth on my Steam Deck.
Nice.
Yeah. And it has
I'll be playing Yellow Wars modded after it's a tiny bit, and maybe watch the anime before I go to sleep.
Nice.
Have a shower and stuff. I finished Buffy, and I finished something else recently, but
Okay.
what
did you think of Buffy?
I love Buffy.
Yeah,
that was great.
It's really good.
That was really, really. Oh, I remember what I finished. I finished. And it's not actually done yet, but it's done for now. Sakamoto Days.
Yes, I just need to watch the last episode of the season.
It was you that recommended to me it.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That was great. That was really, really good.
It's so good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have more episodes in July, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't watched that, but I did just get caught up on Solo Leveling with the English dub.
Oh, what do you think?
It's so good. I love how.
I can't wait for the finale this week.
Yeah, I wonder what is. You can see them doing like because I have not read ahead, but
right.
This could either be the start of a very dark path, or he's going to find some weird loophole shenanigans.
I love to look on their faces.
Yeah. But yeah, no, what is hilarious having him come in and then having the bad guy just be absolutely terrified of what's happening to him.
And all other S ranks just look.
Yeah.
It's just so I can't wait for it. My next anime though, it was going to be Gundam Seed, but Gundam Seed Gundam Seed is broken dub-wise on Netflix.
Yeah, it's Gundam is restructuring all their streaming over to Crunchyroll, I believe.
Not the dubs.
Yeah, not they have not the dubs for the side series, but they have the dubs for all the Universal Century, and they should have all the subs of the side series, but except for Turn A because Turn A is in rights hell. But
Well, is Seed a side series?
yeah,
Um,
yeah, Seed is technically it's a separate timeline.
um, well, Seed has no dub, and a dub on Netflix is broken.
Ugh.
Unicorn still has no dub. 00 has no dub. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm going to start subbing Jay's brother, as he brought up to me the other day. And it's subbing as he bought the first season of a while ago. I just didn't get through it for some reason. I think an old show idea for us. Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Yeah, Legend of the Galactic Heroes.
Okay, that sounds
The
familiar.
more recent take. There's like an old version of it, but the recent take of it I want to see. And I've heard good things, so I
Okay.
want to see it.
All right. Well,
All right.
all right. Pre-roll ad has finished, so we are now into tonight's episode of Free Beer Society. I'm your host Tim TK, joined as always by Brookvan,
Hello.
and tonight the topic is penguins.
Penguins.
Yes,
Clearly, Trump did not like Mr. Popper.
probably not, or he just really had something against the Kid Cuisine mascot.
We're Happy Feet.
Yeah. Or Trump got banned from Club Penguin and never let it go. All right.
Uh, uh, yeah.
All right. So let's get into it. So this is gonna be a
Like,
essentially the news ahead of this article is that Trump announced his tariffs, which were based. The math made no sense, and everyone thought that his somehow came up with this idea using ChatGPT, and they've yet to dispute that idea.
honestly, it kind of feels plausible.
Yeah.
I just see ChatGPT just marketed an island with only penguins on it, a
Yeah.
separate tariff.
Well, that, and then also like the math for the actual like the maths the tariffs are in no way reciprocal because they do not actually math out regardless of how you do it. Um,
Oh,
there's no actual
uh,
equation that gives you like the response that he gave before.
now, how much of the world did he tariff? Because the only two countries I know that are not tariffed by the U.S. at this moment is North Korea and Russia.
Yes.
Is there any other countries not tariffed on the planet?
No, I believe he has tariffed every other country because every other country received a
In
flat.
the world.
Yeah, every other country has received a flat 10% tariff, and then others have received markups. One of them being Vietnam, which is now being tariffed at like, how I said, 30 some odd.
I I heard China made that double too, and that's already at like 30 something.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But like Vietnam stands out because he like in their math they say that Vietnam had an effective like 96% tariff on U.S. goods, but in reality it was like 10% tariff with a 15% gold like goods discrepancy. So it, plus
wait,
then our service discrepancy actually makes up for it to actually result in we actually have quite a healthy relationship in trade with Vietnam because of the amount of financial services we export to them.
did he just start a trade war with the world?
Yeah,
So we're in a trade world war.
exactly. Yeah,
Well,
World War III did not
that-
start with an atomic bomb. It started with penguins.
well, they're scary little guys sometimes. They're dangerous.
Yeah.
Look at that animal.
But
I
yeah,
can just say I want to tariff you. That's not
yeah,
a penguin.
that's a seal. Which also, seals are the residents of the Middle Islands. So yeah, so the reason why this comes from is one of the territories tariffed because it's not a country. It's the McDonald Islands, an uninhabited island that hosts penguins and seals in Antarctica. So this is coming from the Trump administration response after being pressed on it by the media. So Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins on Sunday defended President. This, by the way, article comes from Marina Petrovsky of U.S. Today on April 6th. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins on Sunday defended President Donald Trump's tariff rollout last week when asked why 2 uninhabited islands were hit with the fees, saying in a new interview, "Whatever."
I can't stop laughing. I can't stop laughing.
The official response from the administration and the defense of this action is, "Whatever." Trump on Wednesday announced a 10% baseline tariff for all countries and reciprocal tariffs against approximately 60 countries. So yeah, 10% baseline against all countries, and 60% and 60 countries received increased tariffs. They say this contributed most of the U.S. trade deficit. And again, this is actually a lie because U.S. does not trade goods; we trade services out. So we actually have a trade surplus with most countries in the world because the amount of services we export, mostly being technology and financial services.
Ultimately, you can't just start a trade war with the whole bloody planet.
Well, apparently you can if you include the penguins.
Seriously, what is up with the penguin thing?
I don't know.
What is up with surfing? A place that ain't not even a country, first of all. Second of all, it's some random piece of land on a globe.
Yep.
Inhabited by animals.
Yeah.
By aquatic animals.
Yeah. Toward the end of the long list of charts displaying the typical tariffs shared by the White House on Twitter, Heard and McDonald Islands listed as being hit with 10% cost. So the Heard Islands and the McDonald Islands. The Heard and McDonald Islands have 0 human inhabitants. They had 0 exports. CNN State of the Union host Jake Tapper said Sunday. They have 0 imports. They do have a lot of penguins. Why are you putting import tariffs on islands that are entirely populated by penguins? Come on, Jake, Rollins responded. Obviously, here's the bottom line. We live under a tariff regime from other countries. We have too long seeded the idea that America goes first. I mean, come on, whatever. Listen, the people that are leading this are serious, intentional, patriotic, Rollins said. Islands are located between Australia, South Africa, and the Antarctic continent. They're conserved for their pristine island ecosystems with a rare combination of subantarctic islands and active volcanoes, according to UNESCO. So yeah, we have tariffed these islands in Antarctica that just host these little guys, seals and king penguins.
I had to mute myself. I couldn't stop laughing. Jesus. See, that is the animal that will tariff you in an instant.
Yeah, this is
You gotta fight back.
This is America's response to Trump's tariff plan.
This administration has no idea what the fuck they're doing.
No, absolutely not.
Obviously, but a few weeks ago, we added a journalist to an unsecured test chat about bombing in Yemen. Or, just bombing.
In Yemen, yeah.
It was in Yemen, yeah.
Yeah.
And now we're tariffing penguins. None of this stuff should be happening.
It's because, I mean, here's the thing: is obviously career politicians, it sucks ass that is a thing that can happen, but there's a certain level of professionalism and decorum that comes with at least having a working, functioning understanding of political systems, or at least secret structures. And again, right now, this regime, this cabinet, is mostly reality TV stars and rich friends. Um,
Are you sure about that?
'cause we
Because I
got
think that insult to reality TV stars and rich people. It
Snooki would
feels more
never.
like
Yeah,
it feels more like 5-year-olds.
yeah. Snooki would never tariff penguins. Um, but yeah, I mean, we're not even getting into it tonight, but like one of the guys has been appointed to a position as Dr. Oz, a reality TV show who has been repeatedly debunked on all of his medical claims.
I don't want to Dr. Oz being now.
I don't know what position he's going to be in, but I'll have to look it up real quick.
I'm gonna do that. I'll quickly do that.
Yeah,
I'll take care of that one. And,
but yeah, that
um, Trump names Doctor. Wait, what? Once who's it? Doctor American TV show host and physician Mehmet Oz, correct?
yep,
Yeah. All right. Head Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services.
perfect. The service that's going to be mostly defunct because RFK and Elon are just gutting the shit out of it.
Yeah. Well, isn't Elon now out?
He's
Hopefully.
supposedly on his way out. Which we'll get to that
Okay.
next week. Hopefully, we have an update on that beyond just
Fair enough.
rumor mills. But it seems like
I
there's just a
agree.
lot of back and forth on whether or not Elon is actually staying with the regime. Uh, and now Elon is like doing like some weird like stuff where he went on a live stream to say that we need to get rid of tariffs. So I don't know if there's like bad blood between them now, or what's happening, or like, what it's
But at least you're supportive to Penguins, so leaves
yeah.
us open.
I don't know, it's weird. He did like a whole thing about like saying that Europe and America need a free trade zone, but it's like you literally were just part of a group that put tariffs on the entire world.
I'm happy we started with this story because it's nice starting with something light.
Yeah,
You know, it's never that much light lately. Something that's just funny and nice. It's also horrible, but
yeah,
at least you can laugh about this.
yeah. We're gonna have yeah. This is yeah. I don't know. I mean, like we're gonna get into what this means, like what the like rest of the tariffs mean for the rest of us. And that sucks. But and then we're also gonna be ending on some interesting tech news, which is good for open source people. And I've been saying that
Fair enough.
we need more systems on Linux, and this is some news that hopefully will encourage that. Okay, so speaking of those tariffs, but
Yeah,
not penguins, unfortunately. Uh,
exactly.
there's some Daniel Avis at Japan today, where Trump's tariffs could hurt Americans' wallets.
Well, that's obvious, isn't it?
Yeah. Um, so this is going to be kind of more of a estimated breakdown of how things jump. Um, so as global financial markets plunge in the wake of U.S. President Donald Trump's Liberation Day tariffs, Americans must also grapple with the potential long-lasting impact of the move on household budgets. The tariffs, which are paid in the first instance by U.S. importers, will likely push up the price of many household items in the United States and reduce consumers' spending power. Grocery store costs, the U.S. imports a growing share for the fresh fruits and vegetables consumed each year, according to USDA. Many of the fresh goods come from Canada and Mexico, two countries not immediately affected by the tariffs announced on Wednesday. But other goods will be hit by the stinging duties set to come into effect this month. For example, the United States imports large quantities of bananas from the Latin American countries of Guatemala, Ecuador, and Costa Rica, which all face a 10% tariff from April 5th. Coffee, around 8% of which is imported, according to USDA, is likely to see a price increase given the top exporters. Brazil, Colombia will also face the new baseline 10% rate. Olive oil and alcohol imports from Italy, Spain, Greece will be hit with a new 20% levy against the European Union for April 9th. And Thai, jasmine, rice, and Indian and basmati rice will face tariffs of 36% and 26% respectively, while Indian shrimp, which U.S. imports large quantities of, will face the same 26% rate. Electronics and cars. This is where it sucks the most for a lot of us. Besides eating, like eating's important, but honestly, like, why eat when you can game? Uh,
Well, yeah, eating is kind of a thing you need to do, my dude.
yeah. Yeah. But my Switch too. Um,
Oh my god.
Consumer electronics are also set to be hit with steep tariffs this month, given how many products are manufactured or assembled in India and China. Despite moves to expand its
Yep.
supply chain, Apple still makes the vast majority of its iPhones in China through supplier Foxconn, where hardware exports will be hit with a tariff totaling 54% from April 9th. My birthday is April 9th, by the way, so
Huh.
happy birthday to me. Tariffs. Apple analyst Min Chi Q predicted the U.S. Buyers of high-end iPhones, who account for as much as 70% of sales, are relatively more accepting of price increases. On top of the measures announced Wednesday, the Trump administration has also rolled out a 25% tariff against vehicles not made in the United States. A step analysts have warned would add thousands to the cost of the average car, because again, no car is made in the United States, except for like chunks of Ford. But even Ford still has to import stuff from Mexico. When I had a Mustang that was assembled in Mexico. Shoes and clothes. Shares of clothing and textile companies which rely on cheap labor in countries including China and Vietnam fell sharply on Thursday, with Nike sinking more than 13% and Gap tanking more than 20%. The new tariffs announced Wednesday mean imports to the United States and from China and Vietnam will be taxed at 54% and 46% respectively. Yale's Budget Lab estimated the effect of recent tariffs up to including Wednesday's announcement would cause a 17% rise in the cost of clothing and textiles. The think tank calculated that the overall effect on prices and tariffs announced so far was equivalent to the average household consumer loss of $3,800. So effectively, the average household is now spending an extra $3,800 every year on goods at the end of all of this. Uh,
Awesome.
yeah. Speaking to reporters on Thursday, Trump insisted the tariffs would make the United States very rich. The operation is over, he said, referring to a recent tariff announcement. Now we let it settle in. So I also have. Let me pull up another thing here. So as far as
This is what we all wanted, right?
yeah, exactly. We wanted cheaper food, and by cheaper we meant more expensive. Um, and
Like
gas.
dates. It's all about dates, right?
Yeah,
Just gotta cut their dates down. And by down, I mean very, very up
yeah. Uh,
and very expensive.
yes. So from the breakdown over at Ground News, United States stocks fell sharply after President Trump announced new tariffs, impacting nearly all imports into the United States, leading to a loss of $2.5 trillion. The S&P 500 dropped 3.3, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 1,002 points, and the Nasdaq decreased by 4.6%. Global financial markets have been unstable due to uncertainty surrounding Trump's trade policies, impacting investor confidence. Trump's tariffs include a 10% tax on imports and increased rates on nations with trade surpluses with the United States, which again, um, the actual math of this means that we're at a surplus with them, not the other way around. So,
Kinda no problem here.
yeah, it's not, just losing a cool 2.5 trillion in a day from the economy.
That's nothing. Nothing. All fine.
All fine.
You know, they do what the people voted for.
Unfortunately.
Te- Technically, they did what the people voted for.
Yep.
Like,
That's the thing too, is they're like, I get like, maybe for some people they were like a one subject voter, or they weren't as in tune as others, and their defense is like, oh, I voted for Trump, I didn't vote for this. Well, no, you were warned about this if you were, paid at any mind at all to like opposing campaigns outside of your bubble.
that is it.
Yeah.
What you just said right there, right? Like, you can feel like, well, look, it's sure to try to feel some sympathy for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also,
Yeah.
look, people warned you. There's a lot of warnings about this, you know,
A ton.
and and you get to take it seriously.
Yeah.
And now have you made surprise Pikachu face of what's going on right now? Well, honestly, not to be candid, but try to screw off.
Yeah. And now
Like,
because you're in below the poverty line and need to scrounge up an extra $30,000 a year to eat groceries, you might apply for food stamps. But surprise, that's gone now thanks to the administration that was voted in.
you know,
It's yeah.
but yeah, it's like, I'm sorry. If you're like, oh my god, I am so surprised this happened. I'm like, you just take it seriously. You gotta take what was on the line seriously.
Mhm.
Like, here's the thing, right? There's still a part of it that says like, this will be fine in 4 years, and we'll have a new administration, blah 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 blah. But there, I don't think that we've ever seen an administration do this type of craziness.
Now, it's considered to be the worst 10 weeks after the inauguration of any president in United States history.
Which says a lot, actually.
Just in terms of economic downturn, loss of popularity, and stability rating. He's to be
What is its popularity now, anyway?
less. I think it's like less than 46%.
I'm not surprised for that.
Yeah. I mean,
The country is falling apart at the same, so, you know.
yeah. I mean, we can hope that we're all right in 4 years, but honestly, the only way I could think that we would be is if we were to get a coronary sometime early this year.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
No. But no, like, it could get crazy expensive. The US will get crazy expensive a lot of places.
yeah.
But the US, it could be so much worse.
Yeah. I mean, the reason why Japan is also writing about this and freaking out is because Japan has been in an interesting market for the last 20 years, and that they've had, for the longest time, negative interest. The idea is that you actually could save money by taking out a loan, and will get penalized for putting money into a savings account because, they just needed goods off the shelves, essentially. They needed more internal spending. Um, and with this, the entire country has freaked out, and they're concerned that's going to get worse. And so now they're like a lot of Japanese manufacturing and stuff like that is looking very like has entered into full bear market, and that they're concerned that it's going to exacerbate that problem they've been dealing with, because they've only recently were able to switch over to a normal interest system, right? Only recently were they able to actually like incentivize saving and put a interest fee on loans, but now may have to switch that back around.
Huh.
Yeah. And in terms of like the loan market in the United States, the reason why those percentages were important is because we actually have stopgaps in place. That if the market falls so much percentage within a day, there's 3 timers that might happen where you get a 15-minute pause on trading, no one can trade, and then it falls another like so much. I think it's like 7, 9, and then 15%. And the second timer, you hit a second stop watching at 15 minutes before anyone can trade again. And that last timer, they pause trading for a day. So that means that no one can conduct any sort of trading. And like we were talking about earlier, is all the majority of the United States exports is financial services, and the fact that we are able to allow other people to invest in our stock market. So we have hit these like timers before, notably like 2008 and like 2001, I believe, as well. But no, it was 2008 and then 2004 was the collapse before that. I'm trying to remember that we've had so many once in a lifetime financial crises now.
Well, yeah, but America, any time about how great America is, and it's kind of important that,
Yeah.
I am partly American. I love that. I love my home, but jeez,
Yeah.
there's so many issues too. I had to grab my phone, right,
Mm-hmm.
to because it's about time. I got an Instagram posted up already. So the first I see is a little video, a picture that I'm actually going to DM you as well. Um, but it basically says, visit Canada. We won't throw you into an El Salvadorian gulag without due process.
Yeah, that was something that I saw the article on today. There's been an update on it, so hopefully we'll get to it this next time around. Hopefully there'll be
Yeah,
better news, but unfortunately,
hopefully, but
yeah,
that's questionable these days.
yeah,
Continue. Let's
yeah,
go to this. Then.
it's
Maybe unless there's something else to say on this.
nah, not really. I mean, this is gonna be a
No.
continuation of that. We're kind of hitting on this one point by a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
Um,
So this is one of America's more shocking economic defeats in 40 years.
yeah.
Jeez.
So this is from Ambrose Evans Pritchard at the Telegraph. Um,
Okay.
uh, Donald Trump has achieved his first global peace deal. China, Japan, and South Korea have kissed and made up after years of trade quarrels. They've pledged to deepen ties and reorganize the Asian and global trading systems under what amounts to Chinese leadership. The picture blazoned across Asia's front pages, though barely registering in the US, showed the trade ministers of the three economic powers holding hands in a collective gesture of Asian defiance.
Let's see that photo again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have Yujimoto, An Dok-yun, and Wang Wintao, the trade ministers of Japan, South Korea, and China, respectively, in a collective gesture of economic solidarity in Seoul, Korea. Uh, As one of the most striking economic defeats suffered by America that I have witnessed in more than 40 years covering international affairs. Trump's Liberation Day cuts two ways. They agreed to forge ahead with free trade agreements, but also to flesh out the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Plan, or RCEP, the world's largest trade pact on paper and venture viewed by U.S. hardliners as a Trojan horse for Chinese commercial hegemony. That's not how it's pronounced. That's how I've always said it's hegemony, but I believe it's hegemony. But
I don't know. Yeah.
my tongue does not want to do that.
Regardless, though, I agree with Disney's statement very much.
Yeah.
For all intent purposes, the U.S. is now a rogue nation when it comes to trade.
Yep. That's from Michael Gesrick, the director of UK Trade Policy Observatory at the University of Sussex. Yeah. I don't think there's a global trade war going on. The U.S. is fighting a trade war with everybody, but the others are keen to cooperate even more.
Yeah, that kind of the reason I guess it's in a trade world war, because a world war is when everyone fights each other and numerous forces are together fighting another group of numerous forces. Yeah. This is not that.
No.
This is the U.S. attacking everyone, and then everyone else saying, we want no part of this BS. We're just going to play nice with everyone else, just not you.
Yeah. This is essentially we've just become we're playing a game of Nemesis and Magic the Gathering. We became the arch enemy, and everyone else is now partnering up to avoid dealing with us.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, and this is gonna essentially with this like we had the three largest manufacturers of electronics in America now creating a free trade agreement. So for those three countries, they're about to have a great deal of economic sharing in terms of and technological development. And the United States is going to be so far behind on any of that because we're tariffing them. And essentially, it could potentially open the door for China to supplant the United States as the global trade leader, which it's already been on the verge of doing.
The door?
Yeah.
Did you just say could?
I mean, it probably will because they've already been knocking on the door for years now, and now with a free trade agreement with Japan and Korea, and potentially better opportunities in the European Union and Africa,
could is what something you say when you think there's a possibility but not a certainty.
Yeah.
This I would say it would be lucky if the U.S. still leads this in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I could see the U.S. I mean, we've already been in terms of services provided to our citizens. We've already been on parity with either second world or third world countries. Like we essentially have the same level of healthcare as like a developing nation, just with what we provide.
It's really depressing. Like, look, as you would have said, American healthcare, you know, with some good stuff. Like, if you have the money, you can get great care.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have the money,
Yeah, and it seems like that's why it feels like it's a like, it's on parity with like a second world nation. The idea is that it's not, still like in rough development. Like it's there, the system is in place, but it's not offered to its people. It is a pay to enter system.
that's what you're saying now.
Yeah,
Oh, that is very accurate. That is exactly how the U.S. is.
yeah. I mean, it's not like was it 35 out of 36 developed nations have figured out single payer healthcare. uh, so yeah.
Yeah.
Now with this, I don't believe. Well, I don't believe we've unnecessarily accelerated the timetable towards total economic collapse, but we've definitely have done a decent amount of acceleration towards it. But we've definitely have hit the supercharger and accelerated towards uh, a recession and possibly technological regression in the United States.
Yeah. No, the U.S. won't be taken seriously. It'll be a laughing stock.
I mean,
There's so many aspects to
we're
this.
kind of were to some regard, but usually it was like the idea of oh, Americans are weird, big army though, and they got the Avengers, so that's cool, I guess. But now, I mean, without the Marvel movies and without our trade, we've got nothing going on besides an army that is on the verge of splitting.
Now, do you really think that's a possibility?
I mean, he just needs to give one a constitutional order, which he's already tried to do a couple times in this previous administration. So that was the whole thing with when he tried to call in the army to deal with the Black Lives Matter protests, and the army wouldn't do it. So either wouldn't do it, or the places where they did it, they got kicked out because of the Fifth Amendment, which says that you can't during the time of peace, the army cannot be housed domestically. So hotels refuse to put up soldiers if they're on official duty.
I'm scared for the 20th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. I mean, yeah. Yeah, we've already made jokes at work about how that's going to be just get high and watch the world burn type of day. Because it is 420, so blaze it while the world blazes, I guess.
Anything more about this?
Not too much, no. Yeah.
I don't have anything to say really besides I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Like we've always known China was kind of on our right, and this is a logical kind of choice to make right now.
Yeah. I mean, if I was in Japan or Korea, this trade agreement would make me very happy because it means that, all those American goods essentially come from China anyway, so I might be, you might be in them even cheaper.
Yep.
Yeah. I imagine that, yeah, because there's already so many bootleg iPhones and Androids and what have you that come from China that are just as good as the actual product because they're made in the same factory.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I see no reason why people have them really. For them.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Okay.
Of course, we could be wrong. We don't know the culture that well.
Yeah, we don't know exactly, but yeah.
We don't live there.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting for sure.
Oh yeah.
I'm just glad they haven't. This would have been a great article to cover in at another time, but Texas criminalizing anime and video games. I'm just glad we haven't gone that far yet in the across the country.
Hmm.
All right.
Most Americans think AI will improve their lives, survey says.
Yes. So we're now moving on to some tech news for today. This comes from Ashley Bellinger from Ars Technica. Rare survey of AI experts exposes deep divide with public opinion. U.S. experts who work in artificial intelligence fields seem to have a much rosier outlook on AI than the rest of us. In a survey comparing views of nationally representative sample, 5,410 of the general public to a sample of 1,013 AI experts, the Pew Research Center found that experts are far more positive and enthusiastic about AI than the public, and far more likely than Americans overall to believe AI will have a very or somewhat positive impact on the United States over the next 20 years. 56% versus 17%. And perhaps more glaringly, 76% of experts believe these technologies will benefit them personally rather than harm them. 15% of the general public believes that they'll be beneficial rather than harmful. The public does not share this confidence. Only about 11% of the public says that they are more excited than concerned about the increased use of AI in daily life. They are much more likely, 51%, to say that they are more concerned than excited, whereas only 15% of experts share the pessimism. Unlike the majority of experts, just 24% of the public thinks AI will be good for them, whereas nearly half the public anticipates they will be personally harmed by AI. Colleen McLean, a senior researcher for Pew Research Center, told ours that the lack of studies examining how the public's views lined up or did not line up with expert views prompted the survey. Pew has spent the past 4 years surveying the public, observing that Americans have gradually grown more aware of AI and its potential. But the new survey found that as awareness grows, the U.S. public has become more concerned over recent years. They're especially worried about deepfakes, misinformation, job displacement, and bias. That suggests that many Americans can still feel very unsure about what AI is, what it can do, and how it might affect them. Pew expected that experts' perspective was missing a piece. Pew expected that the experts' perspective was a missing piece of that puzzle when it came to parsing public opinion amid ongoing debates about how AI fits into society today. To find US-based experts, Pew scoured AI conferences for individuals who demonstrate expertise via their work or research in artificial intelligence or related fields. And then a side note, everyone agrees that feds can't be trusted to govern AI, and there's already more AI in our day-to-day use than we expect or even aware of, which is kind of unfortunate in some cases. So it's quite a long article. We're not going to get into all of it, but kind of the general consensus there is that something I've noticed is that every company everywhere seems to be pushing AI, whatever, into all their goods and products and services. Like Microsoft having their AI system that monitors your gameplay and teaches you how to download
Yeah, I talked about that before.
Age of Mythology, but not only does it have so many privacy issues, um, I don't see there being a tangible gain or improvement to life that can be done via self enrichment via 20-second Google at most.
That's kind of the big thing AI I think of, right?
Yeah.
Um, Space travel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm part of the from a yellow shore, but still like something like that. Super weird.
Yeah. Well, for me, that's where AI would make the most sense is doing like tasks or duties where you need to have the ability to do a large sequence of calculations at a superhuman speed. Like
Underwater
underwater
research,
research. Yeah.
or volcanoes, any hostile environment for humans,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Instead, now we have it's OpenAI making a software that will copy Studio Ghibli art and is not protected from copyright for, you know, So Studio Ghibli, if they want to, could sue OpenAI and everyone who used that Studio Ghibli art.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I mean, it's kind of those things where we talked before that it's culturally and whatever in time that the hope with AI is that it'd be something that would handle uh, things like taxes and calculations and more tedious parts of work, so we'd have more time to do art and write and engage with our loved ones. Instead, it's done the other way around that we now have AI chatbots and AI art machines and whatever. Um, and you're now expected to leverage more and more of these AI tools that don't really do anything yet because they're not been properly developed for your work. Until eventually the system gets built in a way that replaces you and you lose your job.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Again, man, it's a machine. That's another use it.
Yeah. I mean, eventually, I think leveraging AI, if we had a fair system in place, leveraging AI for work would be great because then we did end up exploring something like universal basic income and more jobs would get automated. And then you would find ways to otherwise engage in work in society because you'd still need to work in support of those systems. Like, you need to be people who, like, work and manage the data farms, who handle like customer service there, um, sales for AI systems. Like, literally every part of society we have now would just become restructured around tech in the same way that it was around finance in the 40s and 50s, and then marketing in the 70s and 80s. Oh, no, I got that backwards, but marketing 40s,
Yeah,
50s,
fair.
finance 70s, 80s, yeah.
Fair.
Um, and so, but with how much work would become automated, you'd still need to have some level of
Human presence.
human presence and universal basic income because so much of that support work could, in theory, be automated by the system you're supporting, and then you'd only need to like work full time if the system broke.
I hear you.
But we don't have any sort of UBI or anything like that. So the threat of AI instead is just job displacement and loss of income on a grand scale.
I have nothing else to really say on it, really.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to get to a world where like AI was just data in Star Trek. Like, that'd be great.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
Hey, last bit of news for the night, and it's some cool tech news from Foss News. This is from Abhishek. No Snap or Flatpak Linux distros agreed to have only one universal packaging. So, for those of you unfamiliar, Snap or Flatpak are different ways of essentially handling install packages for Linux-based systems. Linux is fragmented. You don't need Torvalds to tell you that, although he has already told you that in the past. Linux is fragmented on so many fronts, and packaging is the top of them all. From DB to RPM, Linux packaging has always been a mess. One package format won't work on the other side of the distro spectrum. To address the issue, a universal packaging system was concepted that could work on any distro. Only everyone worked on their own universal formats, and we ended up with Snap, Flatpak, and Apple Image, or App Image. I'm speaking about Apple earlier, got my mind, but it's App Image. Not the ideal situation, I know, thankfully. I've got good news for you. Mark this state as I reveal the most shocking development since Linus Torvalds smiled at a conference. Meet one package, the new universal packaging system for all. The fragmented Linux community has unanimously agreed to adopt a single universal packaging system, putting an end to the decades-long packaging wars that apply to the open source ecosystem. During the One Linux conference, remotely organized in Greenland, representatives of Debian, Ubuntu, Fedora, Red Hat, IBM, SUSE, all agreed to make Linux great again by opting to work on a single packaging system. The new system, dubbed One Package, will replace the alphabet soup of existing formats, including Snap, Flatpak, AppImage, DB, RPM, and the 17 other packaging formats that most users didn't even know existed. Though it is called One Package, many users see it as Package 2.0 because arrays start at 0. One Package promises to combine security of Flatpak, the centralization of Snap, and the portability of AppImage, and none of the arguments from Reddit threads. The format will also reportedly address the long-standing issue of system bloat by implementing a revolutionary technique known as actually deleting things you don't need anymore.
Oh, that's a nice technique.
Yeah. So,
Uh,
yeah. So if you're coming from Apple, like Mac or the Windows user base, you're used to having essentially one install like package for your thing, right? I forgot what Apple's is called, but um, Windows you have your .exe or your I think everything is just .exe essentially, and then you just runs it as an install, whatever. Well, in some cases that might be included in a zip file or whatever. So in Linux, however, it used to be that based on your distro, not all of those and distros are essentially like a subtype of operating system. It's like it'd be if you're on like on Windows 10 and then Windows 10 Pro, you couldn't actually use the same software between the two systems. So because some of them would use Snap, some would use Flatpak, some would use RPM or whatever. And every time you installed software, you'd have to install it using that packaging system. So instead of like .exe, you'd have to find like GitHub, you have to find the Flatpak of the system you wanted, of the software you wanted.
Yeah.
And some developers are good and put together a bunch of different things at once, but that is a lot of work to put on developers who are usually doing this for free because they're making software for the sake of making software because they're generally trying to help out the tech ecosystem. Um, However, the sort of lead developers of all these systems are now working to put together one distro system or one package system for all their distros that would mean that we'd have a much more universal sense of what software is available across all of Linux systems. And yeah, and so that's always kind of like one of the issues when I talk to people about like whether or not they will adopt Linux is, well, which version of Linux do I get? Because I wanted to run this one thing, but when I was looking into Mint, it wasn't on there, and so I had to go to Ubuntu, even though I believe they're both of those are Flatpak systems. But uh, now with having something like this, that's no longer an issue because you can just tell people to find whatever thing looks the coziest. Probably going to be Ubuntu because it looks exactly like Windows does. But and no matter what, you will have access to whatever you want to get on your system. And then also for game developers, which is going to be the main thing because gaming on Linux has been real damn hard for the last couple of years, but Steam has done a lot to make it better using the Proton system. And so now those games that aren't on Steam that you still want to play on Linux, in theory, now they only have to account for one package system, and as long as they can make that work, then they'd be good to port, and they will have the same licensing hell they have to go through to make a game playable on Mac. So potentially we could see Linux jump up in terms of average Joe Schmo user base consumability.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just figured this is some fun open source news that is also kind of good news to end on. The fact that we're getting quality of life developments happening on software that does not spy on us. Error.
I find it surprising, right?
Yeah.
I label not spying on us as a improvement and positive thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
That is quite good.
Yeah. Let's see there. So I believe we talked about Linux at some point, but it hasn't really been, you've been at a point where it makes the most sense for you to jump on. But I think at some point we may get to a point where, because you already have like the same operating system,
Mhm.
and with how that operates with Proton, I think might get to a point where it just will make sense for most people who only use their computers for gaming or for what have you to move over to Linux because less bloatware, less spying, and
Fair.
uh, the fact that it's free updates and you're not paying for a new Windows system every so many years.
Fair.
Yeah.
I hear that.
Okay, well, that's been all the news that we've wanted to talk about for this week, so we'll head on into our
Yeah.
post show.
Great. It is. I'm surprised we did it this late tonight, my dude.
And it's been it's been a late night show, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, I mean back
Um,
like before I got old, this is like when I normally end my stream when I was streaming Destiny 2. So
yeah, same here when I used to do streams.
yeah,
Not the YouTube stuff with you. We try to remember exactly what time we did that. We did it before now. I know that for a
yeah.
fact. We did not go this late.
No, I think it was like the latest we went was like maybe 9 at some times, but
Yeah, with a few like 3 hour episodes.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's usually like mid afternoon.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we did cut like 4 different time zones because we could have multiple people with us sometimes.
Right.
I remember that. Yep, yep.
Okay. What do you got going on after this? Just Halo Wars.
Yeah, Platoon Killer Wars.
Okay.
Have a shower. Maybe click anime. I also give Douglas time outside
Nice.
to make sure I'm watching him until the 16th, 17th of the month.
Okay.
Everywhere to the US for the holidays, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You?
I'll be taking a shower as well, and then probably heading into bed with my Steam Deck and maybe playing some Final Fantasy VII remake.
Fair.
Yeah. So my birthday stuff we did this weekend. One of
Yes,
my
what happened?
one of my buddies actually. Well, we went out to the barcade and then to the bar, and you know, got
That's the same bar Kate you showed me.
yeah,
Yeah, that place was awesome.
yeah, that was dope. It was a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we and one of my buddies got me the first 2 volumes of Soul Leveling colored.
Nice.
So I'll have to read through those at some point and see how they differ from the anime.
I understand they're pretty damn close. There's a few stuff I've heard. Because I've had a Lost Balls now too,
Yeah.
to be honest. But some stuff I heard that like the show's not tackling.
Mm.
To that's a specific scene in the last episode I was hoping to see that we did not get.
Okay.
So hopefully last episode will.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it because they were unsure how far, like how many seasons they would get.
Right.
So like didn't rush through a few things. While still being incredibly true to the source material. And now with having 5 seasons to go through everything, they will most likely slow down a little more.
That's dope. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because it's definitely like after like so many isekais just coming and going and kind of ruining the taste for modern and modern setting fantasy mixed anime for a lot of people. And then Dot Hack happening so long ago.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine that like the execs were kind of like a little weary about how much they could get away with in Greenlight when they picked it up. But
And then now with this,
yeah,
it's blown up so much.
so much. I mean, and it's so good because it is like so unlike. It's a fun like reverse isekai almost, but it's like
Yeah.
it handles things in a way that's original and that a lot of stuff just like you can only see like my sister got kidnapped by a fairy so many times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And also like the detail is incredible. Like the play, you hear planes, you hear like the detail and just the setting of the
Yeah.
anime. It's so good
Hmm.
to levels that you do not have to do that.
Right. I mean, just like the amount of frames and like polish that went to the fight in the last episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was insane.
Yep. Nope. That. Yeah. Uh, God damn. Now you make me want to talk about this for like an hour with you.
Yeah,
Uh, but no, it's amazing. It's
yeah,
amazing. And the other anime you told me about that was also cool about Deep Man.
yeah. I mean, that one's just—it's so fun and it's cute and it's charming and I love it.
It's adorable and it's so nice. I liked it to an extent. Not that it's that same way. I find think it would be really hard to find an anime that was the same that I get the same feeling as Bartender or Class of God
Yeah,
gaming. But I kind of like that it's just really chill.
yeah, for sure.
But Bart, I don't know why that anime still stays with me so much. Why it gave me such a calm feeling, but it really did.
Yeah, I added it to my watch list, so I'll get to it
Yeah,
eventually.
yeah whatever you do, let me know. Um, yeah, but uh, and then I made to a space anime. I made to a boxing anime.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I would need to get through Megaloblocks at some point.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I remember I watched that a few years ago now. That was fun. Um, I, I'm trying to think when new seasons for some other anime are coming and I'm excited for.
Yeah.
Wait, actually, um, here's one I just thought of, right?
Hmm.
Um, My Hero Academia season 8. Well,
Okay.
it could be in October, but that'll be the final season of the show.
Yeah, I need to at some point watch through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Besides that I know got renewed, right?
Hmm.
Um, I would say Spicy Wolf Merchant meets the Wise Wolf. Um, that is one I would really love to see
Yeah.
this year. Like the light novels have been done for years, I think. Not sure if they're still writing them, but there's definitely enough source material at this point that I think you can continue the show for a while.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
um,
Yeah.
I just don't know when the new season starts. I know it got renewed for a second season, right?
Okay.
And it's in September. It's in production. Um, so I have no idea when it's ready though.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, I completely lost track of when we're supposed to be getting the new Jujutsu Kaisen. I think it's later this year, and then we
Yeah,
have
I gotta start that too.
you'd really like Jujutsu Kaisen. And
Oh,
then Demon Slayer getting a movie before the new season later this year
right.
as well. I think Blue Lock is done for the year, which is unfortunate. And I'm still sad that we only ever got 2 seasons of Rising Impact. I think we could have got a third out of it.
Fair. I was bartender on every season.
Yeah,
I do not think it will. It sounds like great.
right.
But yeah, but I will ask one more thing. I just
Sure.
thought of before we call it. Um, did you see the new season trailer for Marvel Rivals?
No. but I saw the Emma Frost reveal.
So what do you think of No Blade?
Uh, I mean, to be fair, I think the Hellfire Gala is going to be a really big like selling point, especially with. But I think they might try to time the Blade release with the Blade game.
What is the Blade game?
I don't remember when it's coming out. Let's see there.
And is that still coming out?
Yeah, it should be there.
I've seen an announcement in December 2023,
Yeah, yeah.
but not seen any release date marked.
No, but we did get trailers for it since the release date, which has been uh
Targeting 2027.
yeah. Ooh, okay, so maybe not then. Um yeah. All right, well, originally it's supposed to come out in September of last year, so I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have no idea then. Allegedly, the Blade film is not canned.
Oof.
Inside reports are saying that, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm excited for Frost. I'm excited for Ultron.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird that we're building Blade up.
Mm-hmm.
We know he has stuff in the code.
Yeah.
We know he should be a playable character. We've seen the character model in engine in game
Yeah.
on the map, but we're gonna just hold him back.
I think it could also just be part of the reason why is this are just gonna mess with people a little bit.
Makes a lot of sense. He's especially the fact they put a whole bunch of fake heroes in the code to fuck with people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So maybe following month we see Blade.
Could be. Yeah. He might be also be like a halfway through the season type of character.
Since it sounds like also after, I think after next season, or this one coming, is season will last for every 2 months with basically a hero every month.
Yeah.
So starting, I don't think after the Hellfire Gala, but the one after that, right?
Yeah.
Um, so sometime in the start of the summer, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, like from July onwards, or June to July onwards, we'll have a new hero every single month.
Yeah.
Sounds like for the rest of the game's life, which is a lot of characters. So
Yeah, right. It's gonna be. I feel like it's gonna start looking like a fighting game roster, just 50,000 people.
and yeah, by the end of the year, we will have added at least over a dozen new characters in the
Yeah.
game. And they could still do Blade. Like
Mm-hmm.
we, there's still a chance that the end of the event, you gotta do like the, if you want to do a character each month, right? Then it's a 3 month season still. Then Emma 1 month, Ultron 1 month, Blade another month, I guess. So they showed that the characters don't really have to be linked with the event fully.
Right.
The Fantastic Four have nothing to do with Dracula or vampires at all.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Definitely. Okay. Well, we're gonna end here so I can start getting ready for bed.
Of course. Have a good night.
You
And
too,
bye
man.
all.